Hey guys, David Sawuski here. I'm with my lender friend Nick Tortorello, phenomenal loan officer, and we just want to show you where the housing market's going, where it's at, how you can buy a house. Everybody thinks you need 20% down. We'll talk about that, how you can get into a house with the money you have currently right now in your bank account. I see all over online, housing market's going to crash in 2024, and we just don't think that. And we're experts in the field where we're consistently looking at the data, helping clients out. I help hundreds of clients out. Nick does the same thing. So we want to just give you a raw podcast style video where we talk about where the housing market's at, how we're helping clients out. So Nick, feel free to introduce yourself, your experience, your expertise, what you do, what it is you do.
Yeah, so my name is Nick Tortorello. I'm the sales manager of Synergy One Lending. We have offices in Chagrin Falls, Menor, Medina, Cleveland Heights, and soon Akron. I've been in the business since 2017. I got licensed in 2018. It's been kind of a wild ride,
I'm sure.
Last couple of years,
Yeah.
but yeah, man. I mean, that's pretty much the whole story.
Yeah, and again, as you guys know, I'm top listing agent in the Cleveland, Ohio area. So, what I'm seeing really in the housing market right now, we had such an anomaly over the past 3 years, and honestly, I would like the market to crash because I'm an investor myself, but it's like, I just don't see it happening, and I see house values continually rise. One thing to mention is rates. Like, everybody's freaking out about rates. We're in March, quarter one of 2024. Rates are at what, about 6-7% right now, roughly?
Depending on the program, but yeah, I'd say seven's a good
ballpark, yeah. The other thing is, we had such a historic low rate in 2020 to 2022 that, in my opinion, I just think was unhealthy for the market. People are buying houses for almost nothing for the cost of the loan, and I just don't think that's healthy. So
no.
Well,
the problem with that too is everybody thinks, I want 3%, I want 4%. Those rates just don't exist. In a normal world, in a normal market, it's just not a good tracker or a good average.
No.
5-6% is over a 10-year, 30-year average. It's a pretty good rate.
Solid.
People say, if you really look at the data, when rates are low, prices are high. Sure, the housing market in 2020, 2021 were so good. Rates were so good. But I mean, I saw people going 20, 30, 40 grand over asking.
That's the other thing.
I don't think the bottom really is going to fall out. But even if something steps back, like, you're underwater, you're screwed. Even though you're at a 3% interest rate, if you have to sell your house, God forbid something happens, you're coming out of pocket just to sell.
And that doesn't help anything. And the other thing is, rates have always been, in 1980s they were 18%.
Yeah.
And they've consistently dropped down. And then they just recently spiked back up to what is pretty considered a healthy rate to have.
I think a lot of the conversation too is in 1980, even though rates were 18%, wages, everything was more relative.
Yeah.
Something that we have now, wages are still going up. I mean, they're going up big time. So are the prices. It's just hard to keep up with the rise.
Yeah.
And so, we want something to be more normal, but 2021's an outlier year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we're 22 and 3. We went from 3% to, at one point, almost 8%. So, I think the problem is if we keep going back and forth between these extremes, we're just never going to see anything that's consistent.
I completely agree. That's why it's important for buyers, sellers alike to talk to actual experts in the business, see what type of products a loan officer has available to them. Because some people think, right now in the heads on the news, I talk to clients every single day, and they're like, well, I don't want an 8% at a 20% down, or 8% rate at 20%. I'm like, well, that's not at all what it is. You can buy a house right now for low to no money down at a pretty favorable, reasonable rate. And as long as your payment works out and you're comfortable with it, house values are always going to go up. Even if it drops down for whatever reason a little bit, house values are always going to go up. You can always refinance into a lower rate. And you're always going to make out in the end as long as you hold real estate.
Yep.
I
saw something the other day about the S&P 500. If you look at it over the last, I don't remember if it was 10 years or 15 years, there's like one bad year. Mm-hmm. But overall, it's always green. It's always going up. The housing market looks almost identical. If you go to Google and type that in, you'll see a couple, downward spikes, but still, on average, it's always a straight up line. So, times are weird and times are confusing, but marry the house, date the rate. If you get a reasonable price on the house, the interest rates are going to come down. We can't keep printing money. Rates can't keep going up. It's not going to meet the cost of inflation. It's not going to meet what people can actually bring out of pocket. So at some point, there's going to be a level. I saw something the other day from Fannie Mae that said expected Q4, we're going to see rates in the 5s. Is that true? I don't know. These people are like weathermen. They make their predictions, and whether they happen or not.
Yeah.
We got this guy in the loan officer world. He quotes rates, and everybody around our industry has them on speed dial. And every morning you'll get a text that says, "Float the rates," or "Lock today." And whatever you do, literally every time the opposite happens. This guy's wrong 95% of the time. So who knows what's going to happen? But I still think. It's an election year.
That's right. That's exactly.
The Fed's got a lot of meetings this year. I think we're going to see rates start to come down.
Every election year, consistently, for those of you that don't know, they consistently drop down at least a little bit every election year. So we have that in our favor. You also still have, a lot of people forget, they are fearful that they're going to get in this high rate and the prices are going to go down.
Yeah.
Again, hold it long term, but you still have low inventory and builders are still trying to catch up. I'm very involved in that world of prices of materials they've dropped down a little bit and builders are starting to take advantage of that, but there's still not enough houses on the market. So it is tougher to get in one, but if you get in one and hold it, it's the best decision you can possibly make over the next 5, 10, 15 years if you can hold it onto it. So
everybody looks for a short term. It is possible to buy a house and the next year the market drops a little bit and you'd be underwater. If you're looking for a 1-year rate of return,
it's tough.
Maybe you should rent, which I'm completely against. But even still, everybody wants to make a bunch of money, buy a house and sell it for $100,000 more the next year. It's just not happening.
You're not seeing that anymore.
Everybody's expectations need tempered to what is reality.
Realistic.
Right.
Back to when we were in 2019, like the same type of valuations and things like that. That's reality where we're at with rates and everything. So
I agree.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I'm also buying rentals currently, and I'm constantly seeing houses buy and sell. So I feel more than comfortable buying rentals with the idea of holding on to it for a minimum of 7 years. I mean, minimum. And it always will work out.
And two, as prices go up, as inflation goes up, as everything goes up, so do the rents. If you go to, I have a close friend of mine who does everything with Section 8. And everybody sees that as a dirty thing or a dirty word, but they do 125% of market rent. So he's getting duplexes, I don't want to say in a lower income area, but he's getting duplexes, triplexes in maybe not as nice of an area, but he's getting $1,700, $1,500, $1,600, $1,700. I
see the same thing.
A unit. So one house that you could get for $70,000, $80,000, and it's just an example, but you're going to make $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month.
Insane.
You're gonna, return your money hand over fist. So.
I just helped a guy sell a house like that in a not so great area, all Section 8 rents. House should have been worth $80,000, but since the rental income was so high,
it goes up.
Vastly, and people want that. It's a highly desirable product, and people still have so much cash floating around where they can buy it. So I recommend I always tell people, leverage a lender, use their, at minimum, you could do, 80% of the lender's income. You could pull their profits from that, put 20% down, 80% comes from the lender, and you've gotten now into a house for minimal down, and you have products that are little to no money.
Yeah.
So
we do a lot. Everybody thinks 20% down is the way.
Yeah.
I talk people out of 20% down routinely. And it's not because it benefits us in any way. I don't care what you do. You want to put 50% down, put 50% down. I have a client right now in Cuyahoga Falls. He said, Nick, I want to put $55,000 down. This is a true story. This just happened. His loan is in my pipeline as we speak.
Yeah.
I reran the numbers with him bringing $35,000. So it was, I think, 15% down, no MI, or 10% down, no MI. I can't remember which one I went with. And I had him prepay a little bit of the interest up front. If you look at the numbers, it's $20,000 I'm keeping in his pocket. And his monthly mortgage payment is $55 a month more, which divide that out. $55 a month times 12 months divided by $20,000. I mean, it doesn't even make sense.
No,
So, I look at recapture rate too with everything I do with my clients. Most people will tell you, and I think I mentioned before we started recording,
Yeah.
if Dave Ramsey and I ever got into a room together, we'd probably fight.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, this guy's got $500 million worth of paid off real estate. So he's clearly doing something right. But the problem is most people, most Americans especially now, everything is so expensive, food, gas.
Plain and simple.
I don't have the extra money to go pay my house off in 6 years. You know, leveraging that, take the same amount of money you would have put down, 20%. Put 3 and put the rest in something that's got a guaranteed rate of return, 4, 5, 6% interest. That is compounding too. Mortgages are fixed simple interest. So, you know, look over the same period of time you would have recaptured your money and see, was your interest rate really 7%? Mm-hmm. That might be what it says on the paper, but if you made 5% over here and double, triple, quadrupled your money, at the end of the day, you know, where are you really at?
Yeah.
So, you know, just because something is on the paper, I give this example too with all my clients. If you take out a car loan for 5 years at 5% interest, and you pay that car off in 3 years, did you pay 5%? It didn't fully amortize.
Right.
Now, it's not a perfect science. I'm not going to say you paid 3% interest, because interest is usually front heavy and there's a whole formula.
Of course, yeah.
Either way, effectively, you didn't pay 5.
You didn't pay the whole.
So, you know, what makes the most sense?
That's a great way to look at it. I never looked at it that way. It's a phenomenal
I explain that to people all the time.
Yeah, that's a great
And you know,
way.
again, people say, well, I'm going to make extra payments. Do whatever you want. Pay the house off in 6 years if you want.
You have the extra money, please.
When money was cheap, it doesn't make sense.
It's
When we
true.
have 3% interest rates, it's a different story. You know, money's so cheap, who cares?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, a $200,000 house might only cost you $100,000 in interest or even less. So, you know, what's right though? You know what I mean? How many different avenues are there to get to the end goal? It's hard to say.
That's why I just highly recommend buyers always. I send them to you constantly. Just talk to an expert in the field. Stop listening to the news. Stop listening to that. See what the actual data is. What you can comfortably afford on a house, and move forward with that. Don't. When people tell me, "Well, I just want to rent until the housing market kind of sucks," it won't. I promise you. We have no idea realistically where it's going. I predict that it's going to keep going up. Tons of people predict it's going to go down. Either way, no matter what the outcome is, you're going to make out if you simply invest your money in real estate as your primary, as an investment. It always benefits. So,
well, and rent is 100% interest.
That's the other thing that
people say rates are high. Well, you're paying 100% right now, and you're walking away with nothing.
Zero.
Does it make sense? You know, you could go and buy, if it's intended to be your primary residence, you could go and buy a duplex FHA with 3.5% down.
I just recorded a video on that.
Yeah, you can live in one side, rent the other. House hack.
Yeah,
you know, it's perfectly acceptable. It has to be your primary.
Yeah.
So one of them's got to be vacant. The other one you can rent. But
either way,
though, there's so many ways to figure it out.
If you guys have the opportunity to buy a multifamily, I always recommend it, because it's what I did when I was 18 years old, buying a multifamily, living in one right at the other. You can say you're 25, you have a mortgage payment of $1,500, whatever it is, and you can not sell that. You can rent that one out, move into a duplex, and say you're not profiting, but now your housing payment's $600 or $300, whatever it is, and you're getting rental income on your other house, buying another property, and in a year when you can move out, now you have a great cash flowing asset with your primary always going back to being available. So it's a great option for people.
I think too, everybody sees, you know, you go on YouTube, you go on Instagram, you see the Lamborghinis and I've got 87 houses and real estate and wholesaling, all this other crap.
Yeah.
You know, so many people are after the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. For me personally, it's I have this amount of money in bills. These are my car payments, this is my mortgage, this is, I have 2 kids, this is what it costs me to live. Even if I can offset one of those expenses with the rental property, whatever, my net income is increasing. It might not be the greatest rate, or, maybe you're not going to make your money back in 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, but still, now my mortgage is covered. Now my cars are covered. Now this is covered. Yeah. Everything becomes easier. At some point down the line, when you're successful and you have 87 properties, go get the Lamborghini.
Yeah,
but for now, everybody needs to work to building generational wealth for your future, for your family, everything.
Lower your expenses, your net income goes up. Yeah. I mean, whether your income stays at $100,000 a year, if you lower your expenses, your effective net income always goes up. That's what I'm after. How can I have minimal expenses? And that renting is not that. If I buy a multifamily, living in it again, I'm at a minimal living expense, and I can always sell it down the line, 5-10 years when it appreciates in value, which it always will.
I agree.
And never, I try to get this through my clients' heads, never will real estate not consistently go up. You know, it's just when you decide to sell it is whether, if you sell it in a year, you're going to lose money. You know?
Well, and here's the other piece to that coin too. If you look at the data and the averages, even when prices drop, let's say there is a dip, right? Somebody's got to live somewhere. Rent goes up. Exactly. So it's always an up and down. It's a back and forth.
Always a balance.
I think too, you know, everybody wants to retire when they're 30. The system and how most people, our parents, you know, you work. When you're 65, you stop, or 62 or whatever retirement. I don't even know.
I think they increased it to 70.
Yeah, right. I saw something about that.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's just, I mean, your money is supposed to make you money passively. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, you know, if you look back, some things are good, some things are bad. Real estate is always consistent. Always. Over a 30-year period, go back and look. You know, I had a client yesterday. She bought her house in Brecksville for $170,000. Today, she said it's a piece of crap, but it's got an in-law suite. Ain't nobody gonna have an in-law suite in Brecksville.
Zero.
That's probably, and I'm no realtor, I'm no expert, but like Zillow, who lost billions of dollars trying to project people's homes, I think they changed a couple things with their algorithm, but even Zillow said like 500,000.
Yeah.
She bought it for 170 in 1992. So, you know, I just think it's everybody wants that quick money, flipping and wholesaling and all this other crap. That's kind of what's ruining a lot of what you see today. You know,
and you have the gurus saying the complete opposite of what's really effectively going to work over the long run. You know, I'm looking over a 20, 30-year period. You know, the more properties I buy now, in 30 years is what I'm looking at. I'm going to benefit tenfold from that. Right. But so I'm not looking to sell anything. We're talking about rentals. Your primary is the same way. I mean, if you hold it for 7-10 years, you're going to make out. If you bought your primary residence before, you know, in 2019 or before, even if the market drops a little bit or you have to get into a little higher interest rate, you're still pulling out a massive amount of equity because of the insane market we just had, and you can use that to buy another property or, you know, get into a living situation where you have minimal expenses, so you can really prepare yourself over the next 5-10 years. So
everybody's, you know, who's right? I say this all the time. You know, who's really right? Are we the idiots? Are they the idiots? Is Dave Ramsey the idiot? You know, I don't know. Who really knows? I mean, the data shows otherwise, and you know, clearly what we're saying has some substance and merit to it, but you know, people have to feel comfortable. People have to do their own research. I tell people all the time, fact check everything I'm telling you. You know, we have a lot of down payment assistance programs for people who don't have money down. You know, here's their website, here's all their information. I'm going to tell you everything. Go there and fact check me, double check. You know, sometimes, you know, certain down payment assistance programs have all kinds of weird twists and twerks and all kinds of things. And so it's just important that people know and understand. I feel like in today's world, I remember when I went through high school, we didn't really have a financial literacy class. They taught me what a check was.
I've just got, I mean, as my channel, I'm 20 years old, so recently they still didn't have it. It drove me nuts. You know? Nobody
has any clue what anything is, what an interest rate is, what that means.
I had a teacher, a math teacher, I remember this to this day, I won't name drop him, but the math teacher I had as a sophomore in high school taught his students, including me, to rent and lease instead of buy. And it blows my mind that someone like that would teach that in a school. To rent and lease.
A lot of people say. Grant Cardone says he leases all his cars and he rents. He's Mr. Real Estate.
Yeah, I know.
He's leasing and renting.
It just doesn't make sense. You know, the fact is, if you buy real estate, it's you're going to make out, plain and simple. And if you hold off and try to time the market, that never works out.
You're gonna get burned.
It never works out. So
when rates do come down, the prices are gonna go up.
And still, inventory is still low. I just had a client that we had a $500,000 property right on the lake. That's why I love Cleveland, Ohio, because you get $500,000 right on the lake views. But $500,000 property, and she bought it in, I think she built it in 04, $200,000. She's not selling it for over $500,000, cash offer, you know, no inspections. And it's like, that's the housing market we're in. So if you're looking at selling, that's where we're at when you're looking at selling. If you're looking at buying, you have, you know, the same rates that you had back in, you know, early 2000s. You have income still going up. You have low inventory pushing values up. So now is always going to be the time to buy. And in a year from now, I'm just going to still say, now is still the time to buy. Yesterday would have been the best time to buy. So if you can get in, I recommend it.
I agree. I think too, there's so much controversy in, like, why do people really say that?
Yeah.
A lot of people's motives get questioned. And
Yeah.
for me personally, I tell people all the time, I send them to my review pages. I think I'm number 2 or 3 in all of Cleveland on Zillow.
Yeah.
But I send people to my review pages, and it's just because, like, do your own research, do whatever you want, but truly we want to help people understand.
Yeah.
I have clients who go their whole lives, never owned anything, first generation homeowner,
Yeah.
whatever, their parents
Yeah.
passed away without ever owning anything. And it's a scary thing, it is. It just doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
As long as they're empowered with knowledge, and that's kind of where you and I come in.
Yeah.
People need to know, forward, backward, sideways, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
You'd be so surprised how many times I ask people, what's your interest rate? I don't even know. How could you not know?
Yeah, it's a very huge factor.
You got to know your finances. You got to know your situation, because when something does change or shift, you have to know when to make a move.
Yeah. Be financially educated. That's why I'll link Nick and I's contact in the description below. But I urge people to just reach out and just have a conversation. Whether you buy and sell a year from now, 10 years, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. Me and you are doing well enough where I don't need to beg for the business right now.
Right.
But be educated and just make an educated decision moving forward. See what the actual options are. Get pre-approved. See how much you can afford. Really sit down, look at your finances. What are you comfortable with affording? Like, what are you comfortable with the monthly payment? Talk to local experts, your real estate agent, your lender, me and Nick, and see what the different options are for your specific market. Can you buy a multifamily and live in one? Can you buy a fixer-upper and fix it up as you live into it? And get no capital gain tax. It's the other thing. The tax benefits are
insane,
astronomical.
You could do a cost segregation analysis. This is something that one of our clients out in California does all the time.
I know this, yeah.
Accelerated depreciation. It reduces your taxable income. If you would have owed a bunch of money, I'm not going to say you're going to owe nothing, but you owe a lot less. It reduces your taxable income down to a smaller number, which means your taxable, your tax liability is a lot lower.
Tens of thousands of dollars less. I mean, that's what it's helped me out, and everybody can do it, and it's a must. And that's a whole other benefit of real estate that people fail to realize is the tax depreciation. The benefits you get.
That alone is enough.
Right there.
But you have rental income. You have other things.
So loan buy. Your tenants are buying rentals. Your loans getting paid down as values go. It just blows my mind when people say they're going to wait. My parents were the same way. They want to wait until the perfect. I'm like, it's just you're not going to find it. You're going to sit here waiting. And
there will never be a perfect anything.
Never.
That's just plain and simple.
You gotta take what you have right now and make the most educated decision and move forward.
Yep.
And that's why, no matter where the housing market's going, I did a bunch of research before the video. Again, the top 20 videos on YouTube are saying the housing market's gonna crash. Again, I really don't see it happening. Again, with the things we talked about, lower interest rates happening this year, most likely. Inventory is still at an all-time low. Everything just doesn't support that evidence, but no matter what it does, if you buy and hold for any amount of time, if you're a real estate investor, if you live in a property and just wait it out, it's always going to benefit in the long run.
Could not agree more.
That's where I'm at. Well, guys, I hope this video helped you out, gave you a little bit of insight. Again, feel free to reach out to Nick and I, no matter where you are in the market. We're experts in the Cleveland, Ohio market, but we still know the strategies that work nationwide across markets. So feel free to reach out to us. Again, I hope this video helped you out, made a more informed decision moving forward. Thanks for watching.